Hi there, my name's Michelle Taylor, and welcome to the Future Self Club. This is your space to connect with your future self. And it's really important to know why the hell are we talking about future self? And this is what this little experience, training experience is going to share with you. So let's just dive in, sharing my screen now. And we're going to meet your future self in this session, the one who has already done it. So I'm not quite sure about you, but I like to live life without any regrets. And this lady, Bonnie Ware, went around into uh, into like a nursing home, and she was asking people, "Have you got any regrets?" And she summarized it into these five things. I wish I'd had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. I wish I hadn't worked so hard. I wish I hadn't had the courage to express my feelings. I wish I'd stayed in touch with my friends. I wish that I'd let myself be happier. And when I read these, I get quite touched, and it's a little bit of a check to see, am I living the life of my dreams? Am I living the life that I want to live my way? And so I'm hoping this sort of sets the tone for you to start to think about, are you living the life that you feel like you deserve or that you could have? And we're going to talk about what may be getting in the way as well. So this is all about you, but we'll just sort of briefly talk about why you should listen to me. My name is Michelle Taylor. I'm a psychologist. I used to be an intensive care nurse, and I have worked with lots of businesses, doing keynotes, training, in my time as a psychologist and a trainer. And this is actually not even exclusive. I've worked with lots of other companies since then. So I've specialized in leadership. I've written a book around nursing leadership because that's sort of where I started, excuse me, my leadership journey. So at the moment, though, I'm taking a new tact, and this is what you're entering into my brilliant experiment at trying something new because something happened to me last year and that changed my focus. So now I help conscious entrepreneurs and business owners go from confused, overwhelmed, and unproductive to building the business that you want, one project at a time. So, why I've changed from pretty much the corporate world into business is because last year the government, the NT government, the state government in which I was getting most of my work, changed their procurement laws, and I lost two-thirds of my income virtually overnight. And it had a profound impact on my life. My business, obviously, I didn't earn as much money or get sales, but I lost my mojo. You know, anyone who knows me, I would just say, yeah, I've lost my mojo. It just sort of felt like every corner I turned, it wasn't, things weren't working for me. My self-esteem plummeted, and I would actually even say at some stages I felt very depressed. Nobody knew. I think I hid it really well. And I was still continuing, I was still, earning a decent living when I looked back at it. At the time, it felt terrible. And it was really interesting because all of the normal things that I'd done, they just weren't working. Usually, I reckon I had about a 90 to 95% close rate. And I think it went down to about 20%. And I'm not sure if it was my confidence or it was just the universe pushing me into direction, a different direction that was really following something closer to my heart. And I still do all the other work, but I'm just sort of being called to number one, blend, this idea of quantum mechanics, manifestation with psychology. And why I chose businesses, besides businesses being my people, is I looked at the stats that women in business in Australia, where I'm living, only women in business only earn an average of $40,000 a year, and I think that's appalling. I'm sure it's below the poverty line, and and that's only 67% of what men earn. So women are behind the eight ball straight away, and I wanted to rectify that. And I knew what it felt like to have those barriers to a successful business, meaning imposter syndrome, self-doubt. We know that women have less chance of getting funding for a new business idea. Women are more likely to have perfectionism because I think we do need to try harder in today's world to get ahead. Women suffer from false humility, and it's your bloody upbringing and the culture we live with as well, that stops women, I think, getting ahead. I still think we try to do everything, and we try and rescue everybody. So I'm pretty passionate these days about helping people when they've got something that's really dear to their heart, help them succeed with that. And so this year I've partnered with this business enterprise center in the Northern Territory, and we're creating some business development programs together, which I'm pretty excited about. So we're going to dive straight into the future self, but I just want to mention straight up in August, I'm going to be launching a 3x3 action incubator. And what this is, it's basically a get shit done program. And I'll mention a little bit more at the end, but I just want to prime you now that I will be having a waiting list. So if you're thinking that working with somebody like me might be of interest to you, that's awesome. You can DM me. If not, you are going to get tons of value from this workshop today and from the Future Self Club, which is free and will probably always stay free. But you just get a lot more of what I do in the incubator. Okay, so why hang around? Today we're going to look at why your future self is much better to create a future self, much better than creating a vision. You're going to meet your future self through a beautiful embodiment exercise that I just love. You're going to get very practical from going from very broad strokes to prioritizing your year with your future self. And then you're going to get a bit more granular and choose your next quarter's projects or action priorities. So we're going very big and very dream-like and going for your ideal future into and don't worry about it. We'll still be some broad strokes, but just getting a little bit of an idea. Once you've connected to your future self, does this change your priorities? So often what I think we don't do is dream big enough. I think generally, especially women, we're so damn reasonable, but inside us, there's something that's bubbling up to the surface. And if it's there, if you've got a feeling that you're meant for something bigger, it means it's yours. You can sort of feel the dreams that come from ego. They're sort of those goals that demand attention from other people and they want more status. But the other ones are really very close to your heart and they feel like you're expressing part of you in your business and that's really important. And just to show you how embedded business is in people's mindsets, I got this image from ChatGPT. Please show me a successful business person and connecting to their dreams. And there was a man in a suit, and it was really hard to find, like, to get a woman image. So this is ChatGPT. Already understands that business equals men. And so you can see that I've had to change it. I've used the draw facility on my PowerPoint to change this image into a woman giving her hair. But you might even see that there's a bit of a suit underneath. And so we have all these biases inside us. And we need to combat that and we need to change it. So your desires are part of your spiritual path. They're a part of your DNA. So why do we want to connect to a future, a vision versus Sorry, a future self versus a vision. So, a vision is something that you see outside of you. It's like the vision is projected onto a wall or a movie you can watch, and it feels external to you. It's out there, it's something separate to you. It can feel like a little bit when you've got a vision that you're an actor in a play. And when people talk about getting a strategy from a vision, the strategy can often be not yours. It's like people get you to try a cutter type of approach, and it's not authentically you. It's not soul led. It's not heart led. It's it's a strategy that it feels false to do, and you lose momentum really quickly if it's an external strategy just coming from a vision. And with a vision, you get the sense that you move towards the vision because you're connecting to linear time. Linear time is where you, through moving objects around, moving your matter around, your body around, you affect a change and you move towards the thing that you want. It doesn't leave any space for magic, coincidences, things just appearing from nowhere. And it's more aligned with that hustle culture that we want to get away from. And when you have a vision, it's very action orientated. You just have to do the steps and all the rest of it, and you're going to get there. Now, don't get me wrong, you do have to take action, but it doesn't, it really implies hard work and lots of efforting. So, alternatively, what is the option? The option is embodying your future self. And this is really important because when you embody an identity shift, something changes in who you think you are. You change inside you, you change your neural network, you change your pathway because think of it already, you identify as being a type of a person. And in future self creation, you become the type of person that say would exercise every day or groom yourself in my example, groom myself every day to make the videos. So before I used to think, oh yes, I love my vision of my future because I get to stay in my gym clothes every day. I go for a walk and I can just be all messy, but really that didn't get me to who I to the goals and to videoing, etc. I had to change my identity, which was somebody who would get up and groom themselves and not look like a messy frump all the time. So you have to think of an identity shift, and you don't get that with vision. So, what's next with vision? A version of you that already exists and creates. When you connect to your future self, it can feel like you are remembering. It feels really familiar. And if it doesn't feel like you're remembering, it feels like you are creating it. You're choosing between timelines. You're choosing something that clicks for you. So we could go all quantum with this, and there's many worlds theories that we could cite. And I'll tell you about an experience shortly that I had. But this vision, this future you actually does exist in some way or form, and you're just connecting to the part of you that's already done it. So the other thing with future self is you think about who am I becoming? So you think about yourself like 10 years ago. Think about there were so many aspects of you that were so different. I mean, they would look at you now and just be amazed, be gobsmacked at what you've achieved, at your characteristics. And for your future self to be realized, you need to change and grow into another person. And that's okay. And this other person starts in your nervous system. And it has to start in your nervous system because you change the state of who you're going to be. Because this future you is going to be more a fully expressed version of you, especially if you get deliberate, because often we water ourselves down. So being more, being more you really is a state. It's a feeling in the body. And to act differently and feel differently, you have to do the things now that you need to be. You need to be in a different state. And it's a more coherent state that's more present, able to make proactive decisions and not reactive ones at all. So it starts by you leading your nervous system, leading your attention, because your energy goes where your attention does. So when you connect to your future self, you get a relationship with this part of you, and your intuition starts to really hone in. And even for those who don't feel like they are operating from an intuition, there's really clear feelings how they're so different. I talk about this a lot with my clients, the difference between fear and the difference between your intuition, the difference between thoughts and feelings that you need to connect with or ones you can let sail by. And sometimes it can be really confusing about like, who's the real me? But there is really clear ways that you can feel that. And when you're less reactive, when you're leading your nervous system, when you're leading yourself, you can determine a lot easier which nudge is fear and telling you to stop, and which nudge is like saying pause. It's like a pause button because it's in your best interest to hang back a bit. Now, before we said that action is essential, not hustle, to reach your goals, and being in action is a statement that when you come from your future self, this is what happens. Because action, when you're not the type of person who needs to take the action, like your past self, just leads to treading water, basically. You have to connect with the person or the characteristics or the beingness, and from that clarity comes. It's like if I've turned up to do training, and if I'm not really fully aligned with the training, I don't seem credible. I don't seem like I know what I'm talking about. And that's when you actually feel that what I'm talking about the truth, it means that my being is fully aligned with my action. And to get ahead in business, you can't bluff it. Build a business is relationships. It's not just tasks, it's absolutely relationships. And you actually get your business from people, not action steps. So, and people pick up beingness. They pick up if you're hiding something. They pick up if you're fearful. So being as you're doing the action is incredibly important. And that's when you build the trust. And nearly there with the future self, but your future self becomes a strategy. It's your strategy, and you think and you prioritize back from that. It's a way to make a decision. It's the only way to make a decision, actually. So I've recently, when I've up leveled my future self, I've made completely different decisions in my business. So even my decision to pivot from what I was doing came from my future self. So, if I want to get more team members, it comes from who I need to be in the future, who I need to be now to have the business that I want to run. And lastly, change is now. Change happens now. Everything happens now. Now is all we have. And when we connect to our future self, we know who we need to be now. So I wrote a post in the Future Self Club in the general chat, and I spoke about an experience that I had with my friend Nicholas, and he was doing some really great money work at the time. He was coaching people on mindsets, and he took me through this experience. It was digitally, it was online. We just had a Zoom call, and I had this really intense spiritual experience. And in this experience, I got to feel and know that everything is happening now. Everything is happening right here in this moment. And Stephen Hawking, so there's an image of, he talks about this as well, that there's linear time and then there's this he calls it imagination, and I don't know if he's got another word for it, but it's this realm of imagination where everything is happening now, and that's where we connect to this 5D moment. And when I connect to it, it was quite astounding. I got a shock because I just remember saying to him, I go, oh my God, everything is now. And I said, time isn't linear, it's all stacked on top of each other. And, he was quite thrilled that I got that experience. But I got to feel that in right now, I'm not born, but I'm also dead, but I'm also alive. And there's also all these other future or possible futures for me, even like my past selves are happening right now. But what really freaked me out is that my kids weren't born and they're also dead. And that's when he warned me, like, Michelle, just you're gonna have to go slow with this. But when you change now, who you're being now, it changes your timeline. And that's why being your future self now and thinking from that part of you, acting from that part of you, walking from that part of you, self expressing from that part of you, and taking who you really want to be seriously is so important because everything is now. And that's why being present and connecting more in your nervous system and calming that down is super important. So I hope you're excited to meet your future self because it is the most important tool that you're not using at the moment. So let's just dive into a bit of research. As a psychologist, I love a little bit of research. And this chap, Hal Hirschfield, he is a chap from UCLA, and he's got a TED talk and he's got a book or two about this as well. And what he did was he did some studies with people imagining their future self as a completely different person, really um, looking at who they would be in the future, what they might like, um, and getting to know that they're completely different to you. They're going to have different characteristics. They're going to want different things. They're going to say, for me, when I'm 80, I know that my future self is going to really appreciate if I do exercise now, especially strength training. So the research with health says when you connect to them, you're more likely to behave in ways that are beneficial for their future. They've done these studies also when you connect to your future self as a different sort of person, that you're more likely to save for the future. So it's getting away from instant gratification and what are you feeling in the moment to what's best for me in the long run. And that's a great way to make a decision. And this images me in my future self. And I love this woman. And like when I look at her, I know, I just know about the experiences she's had. She's so wise. She's so fun. Look how fun she looks like she's to be around. She feels like almost anything goes and she's so accepting. And I get excited when I look at her because that feels like who I want to become. So, in our discussion today, we're not going to travel so far forward as like when you're 80, which is like just over 20 years for me. But I do want you to get the feeling that we're helping another part of us out when we connect to our future self, when we're more likely to take action, especially if you're overwhelmed and you're finding it hard to prioritize. Connecting to your future self is so great for that. So there's some more research around, it's a thing called mental contrasting. We don't need to go into it too deeply. But if you have a desired future and you connect with your future self, you plan back from that, you're more likely to take action. So, from what you're doing today, you're more likely to take action. And that's pretty cool. You actually rewire your brain when you do this. Um, you rewire your brain to predict. So if you have this image, and we know that when we have an image of something, it happens in our occipital lobe in the back of our brain, right at the back here. And that occipital lobe doesn't know the difference between something you imagine in detail and something that you see. I don't know about you, but I often say to my friends, did that happen? Or, did I just hear that you talk about it? So our minds are much more malleable than we think, and memories are much more malleable. And there's this research by Lisa Feldman Barrett, Dr. Barrett, on predictive emotion, and it supports another reason why we need to connect to our future self, because she's discovered that our brain isn't triggered by situations around us. Say, I often use this example, but if you were cheated on in the past and you have a mistrust of people or your current partner, it's not you getting triggered if they come home late. It's you predicting a future that's happened to you in the past and you're overlaying it into the future. So if you create a new identity model, which is what we're going to be doing today, you are more likely to act in that way of that part of you, because and you'll have less anxiety because you're predicting that it's actually going to happen. It's so crazy, but it's going to predict. So your future self is that bridge. It's the bridge between where you are now and where you're going to be. And you can see on this bridge, it's got all these networks. It's all these, I'm not quite sure the wires there. And to me, I liken it to a neural network. And we make a neural network that predicts and gives us a bit more certainty about our future self and our desires happening when we imagine it and imagine the steps going back. And a neural network is just a pattern. It's a pattern in your brain, and we want to make the neural circuitry now for you for success. You're going to be making this neural circuitry for success by connecting to your future self. So exciting. Okay, your future self, it's just not a higher vibe version of you. She is useful. And if anything you know about me, I love utility. As an old ICU nurse, um, you know, and I'm a psychologist now. I mean, that's all I read now. But I like things that have real world use. I also love just knowing theory. I'm not going to get you wrong there. But things have to be practical, and your future self is practical. She helps you make faster decisions. I know this for sure. She holds higher standards for you, and she acts without second guessing because she already knows where it leads. So exciting. So this leads me in our Future Self Club on Fridays. There's like a little tab in the community, and it's Future Self. I can't remember. I think it's called Future Self version. And on Fridays, we encourage Future Self Friday. So we need to remind you then to embody your future self now. So on that day, I really want you to make a special effort to feel who you're going to be, post in the group a picture of why you are embodying or how you're embodying your future self now. You could even be putting a picture that you've just visualized yourself walking around, maybe a future of you in a holiday. But you need to, this is a reminder in the group, and this is why it's great to stay in the group. You're going to get some great reminders and some great exercises for you to practice being your future self in here. And now is the only time you have. So celebrate, it's already done. So right now, you have got a foot in the past and a foot in the future, or you will be shortly when you've done this. And you might need a little bit of follow through. And it's not because you're lazy or unclear, it's because you're trying to build from a current self, your past self. And often we think we are what our past has done. But I want you to encourage you to understand that just looking in your past for evidence that you can do something in your future is a big error because you're learning and growing new skills and pathways all the time. And we want to help that past you who's trying to create your future from her. And we want to give her a little break because she's tired and she doesn't know how to get there. So, what I'd like you to do is make sure that you've got a bit of paper close to you. And I'd like you to pick a date in the future. I'm encouraging you to pick a year in the future. Maybe you're getting called for 2 years, but I'd like you just to write that date down on a bit of paper. And if you have to go and get one or you have to go and get your journal, just pause now. And I'll be asking you to pause along the way and just write a date in the future that you want to connect to. So I'd like you to imagine there, feeling like you can close your eyes now. And I want you to imagine that you're going inside for a while, imagining the breath softening and your body loosening as you take big breaths. To start with, we're going to do a coherence exercise because we're going to get that nervous system calibrated to possibility and to your future self. And we do that by bringing your attention to the area around your heart to start with. And if you have a bit of trouble imagining that area around your heart, I encourage you just to put your hand on your heart now and just feel that part of you and imagine the air going in and out of your heart, the breath going in and out, softening and loosening that area. And if your attention goes to the side onto something else, or you're noticing a sound, just let it go for now. And I'd just like you to remember something in the past that was really quite nice. For me, I love being at the beach and laying on the beach like I did when I was a kid. And, when you're lying on your stomach and you can put an ear to the ground and you can hear muffled sounds of the beach. That's like one of my happy memories, happy sounds. Feel the warmth on my skin. That gives me a lot of joy. So just think of something that gives you a little bit of joy as you settle into the chair. And I'd just like you just to check in with your body and feel how present are you in the body and give yourself a percentage out of 10. To create fully in this moment, you need to be quite present. So feel in your body a percentage. Just see if you can get a little bit more present. And I'd like to time travel in your mind. You can get there instantly. Time traveling to that date in the future. And I'd like you to imagine what your life is like. Imagining who you're around, perhaps what you're earning, the type of things you fill your day with. And it doesn't matter if you don't see this clearly, which programs you've launched, who you're working with. And if you can't see it clearly or imagine it clearly, it doesn't matter. I want you to feel what it feels like to be successful in a year. Let's feel the feelings. Because on one level, it's already done, and you're choosing a life, you're choosing a future. What thoughts are you thinking a year from now if you're successful? What beliefs are you holding? And what habits have you got? And if you feel like opening your eyes and pausing, you can just do that now. So you can write in your journal. And this is just not visioning, it's also intentional identity shifting. Who do you have to be to become in the process? Who do you have to be to have that? For me, for my future self, I have to be committed. And I have to be committed to other people's success, not just my own. I have to have responsibility and stay in integrity, meaning my word is law. If I say I'm going to do something, I do it. So connect now to what do you have to do differently. Pause if you want to write this down. What do you have to do more of? Who do you need to be around to stay consistent in this future self? Don't be scared to dream. What changes in your environment do you need to make to have this future self? How does your future self walk? I really want you to get a sense of that. How do they feel? Sorry, my puppy's having a little coughing fit. Now, I'd like you to think about it, your future self in past tense and say, I accomplished this. So start to write some sentences down and just know that you can change them. I just want you to think about whatever comes to mind. I did this. I did that. I spoke on this podcast. I wrote my first book. Pause if you have to while my little poker bear chokes. He's all right. He's got a little bit of heart disease. Now, three words that describe who you need to be to get there. And I sort of already intimated what my words were, which was commitment, commitment to your success, commitment to my success. My word is my law. And my last one is full self-expression. I want to be 100% me. This is my experiment with that. So when we're thinking about our future self, we have to remove what doesn't belong in your life. Now, when we think about Michelangelo, he said, when he was interviewed, he said, how do you create like the David, for example? And what he said is he actually removed the parts of the rock that were not the David. Such a crazy thought, hey, that the David already existed in the rock that he chose. And his job was just to get rid of the excess rock and to reveal the David underneath. So often when we think about a future self, we think about what we have to add to our life. And I want you to think about a little bit further about what do you have to whittle away? What habits cannot come with you into your future? What thoughts and beliefs do not belong in your future? Write them down now. Pause and write them down. Make sure you do the work. I've done the work. Now you do the work. So what we're going to do shortly is we've gone from this bigger vision into let's make it a little smaller. Let's get into the strategy. And again, we can't, what got us here won't get us there. And we have to think a little bit broader than SMART goals because SMART goals can be paralyzing and they can increase they can create this illusion of certainty and control, which you actually don't have. They can be comforting, but they're unrealistic in a world that consistently changes. And especially when you're growing and changing, your goals need to grow and change too. So SMART goals aren't that useful when you're growing and you're changing and you don't know 100% how you're going to get there. And they stop pivoting and they stop you being flexible because they make you feel like a bit like a failure if you alter your course of action. So there's another option that's in total alignment with your future self. And that's this idea that you're choosing your own adventure consistently. And we do that, we still with goal setting, but we do it with lead and lag goals. So SMART goals prioritize lag goals or lagging goals, as this slide points to. So a lagging goal is like a goal that you might have, which is to lose weight. Or for you in your business, let's just say you've got a goal of $200,000 for the year. That is what we will call a lagging goal. It lags because it comes after we do the actions, we do the work, and we do leading goals. So leading goals come first. So for the example of weight loss, you have to diet or do whatever you're going to do for the diet consistently and exercise and commit to that to get the goal. Now, often we think about the lagging goals and we feel like a failure if we don't meet the lagging goals. So that's why we have to use them in a different way. All right. So what I don't mind lagging goals for a horizon to point towards because um, it creates a container, like a container is like your future self, and it's a big future self, and it's what you need to grow into. But it's really the reps, the leading goals, the reps that you do, that you commit to, is that's going to actually get you to your future self. And why this is important, because you can determine the process, but you can't determine the outcomes. So some examples of lead goals or leading goals is just posting every day for 30 days. You can't control if you're going to get followers. That would be a lag goal. I'm going to get 100 new followers or 100 new leads. That's great to aspire to, but we focus on lead goals instead. Walking every morning is an example of a lead goal. Completing your website is a lead goal. Getting business from your website is a lagging goal, for example, and there's a couple more there. So what we do instead is we use experiments. I'll do this and I'll see what happens. It's still 100% commitment to results, but it's much better for your brain to do it. And there's a neuroscientist and Dr. DeClumph, I think. Oh, how am I going to get on? Sometimes I have a little bit of trouble when I have videos. So there was LeClumph is a neuroscientist, and she was the one who put forward we need to live life more as like a little adventure. Let me go back to that slide. And she thinks instead of doing the lagging goals, we make a pact. So a pact is like a lead goal. A pact is a guess or a hypothesis that we put forward that I think if I do this, this is the outcome I'm going to get. So for a pact to be useful, it needs to be purposeful. It's got to be exciting. It's got to be motivational. It needs to be actioned. So you need to be able to do something towards it, of course. It could be, it has to be repeatable. It's something that you just got to rinse and repeat all the time and stay consistent with. And it's trackable, it's measurable. And then we can see if we've done it or not, a yes or a no. And a pact is something, and experiments is something that is a much better idea. And it helped me get my mojo back. So, how do future self and experiments go together? Now, I tried to make this animated, but it just came as a big lump. So, we're just going to have to read it like this. So, the future self excites you. So, that's hitting that purposeful mark. And it's deciding that this vision of you, yourself in your future, is good enough and exciting enough. And then once you have that vision, you walk or you work back from it and you decide the character who you need to be in order to get there. So you have to think of it just as I said before, like a container. Your future self is a container for who you're going to grow into. And the bigger the container is that you have, the bigger the goal, the bigger the pushback from your own self. But what that means is you can grow into being more. You can have a bigger identity. So it's something that moves you towards your goal, but it's not the goal, the future self, remember. So if you've got a future self goal of 200,000 a year, that's not your lag goal. It's not the goal that you mark yourself against if you're there or you're not there. Because you don't fail if you don't meet your future self, because your future self is a direction, it's a person you are becoming, and it's a feeling state, and you can be that now. And actually, being that now is the only way to do that. Tomorrow never comes. If tomorrow comes, you're going to start being that self then that means you're behind the eight ball. So lead goals are going to get you there, and these packed experiments, they're things that you stack on top of each other, to reach your goals. So let's go now to thinking about your next quarter. So you need to make a decision. Do you want to commit to your future self? So before we go ahead, are you going to commit to your future self? I want you to say yes or no to yourself. And to do that, we have to start thinking about three actions or projects that's going to increase the likelihood of you getting there. What actions, when they're stacked, will make the most difference? What is the starting point for you? And it's well known if you've got more than three priorities, you have none and you're not going to get there. James Wedmore, he's got this really great idea of where you are now. You're on an island, and your future self or where you want to go is on another island. And if you keep changing your mind, and every action that you take is like a piece of a bridge that's going to get you from, your island to the other island. And if you keep changing your mind, you keep prioritizing 10 things at once, it means that you're building your bridge just like you're not building them as a long stepping stone or bridge. You have to complete one project, one action, one task, and you're more likely to get there. So you have to choose your three carefully. So what I'd like you to do is just pause this video, and I want you to get into the feeling of your future self again and just let the ideas come to you. Don't think just because you write a few ideas down that you have to do that. This is just a starting point to start to think back from your future self, the feeling of what you want to have, who you're going to be, and plan your next quarter, which is your three goals or three assets that you want to build. And it could be I want to build my audience by posting every day. So you pick a strategy. It could be like for me, getting a digital manager plus doing the posting is going to get there. It could be building a book. I wrote a book. Sorry, not building a book, wrote a book. I wrote a book in 3 months. That was a project that I 100% committed to and increased my authority. It was much easier for me to get keynote speaking, really big programs once I'd done and built that asset. So, what makes sense for you that's going to be like a domino for your business or your life that's going to help you get to your future self? I'll see you in a minute. Okay, so you've got a little bit of an idea what's going to be in your next quarter. So you've got an idea of what your future self is and what that's going to look like. And we've chosen a year or 2 years as our projected future. Now, your past self or who you think you are now, your habits, all the habits of being, are going to be pushing back on this. It's a trial every day to consistently do the things. Like it's easy when you're excited and you go, "Yay, this is really doable. I can just see it. I can feel it. It's so close." But as soon as you hit a bit of a roadblock, the past self comes in. I knew I couldn't get there. Imposter syndrome pops in, and you do all the things that try to make you feel like you are worthwhile, that you have got what it takes. You question your capability, your worthiness. You question the path you're taking. You procrastinate, which is often a protective mechanism. And perfectionism is also a mechanism. It can be over controlling how other people see you. We try to protect ourselves against rejection and criticism by trying to make it perfect, but we know perfect doesn't even exist. And there's also the past self can be fear of success, unconscious beliefs around visibility, responsibility, not fitting in socially. So to be your future self, you need to have a plan to unshackle yourself from past self and really embody who you want to be. Now, if you staying in the Future Self Club is definitely going to help you. If you'd like some more help, you can hop on my wait list for this 3x3 action incubator, where we're going to be committing to 3 actions, 3 projects, 3 lead goals. I'm going to support you to overcome these blocks. As a psychologist, I have been doing this for years. I've done it with thousands of people, and it's going to be coaching on the go. It's not a training, it's experience. Like there's going to be some, modules in there, but it really is about getting shit done. DM me for the wait list. I haven't got all the details in here about what's going to be in it yet, but I will let you know if you want to join the wait list. Now, the wait list just means that you think you might be a bit interested. Yeah, and just keep me notified. But I'd love to see you in there. So that is us for today. I would love for you to post in the group the details of your future self. The more that you can get it out of your mind, paper is like great. That was a really great step that you did if you took the time to do it, because it gets it from this imaginary world into our 3D actual concrete world where you what you want is going to materialize. And so the more you can do that by speaking it out loud, by posting in the group, by being that, by embodying it, the more it's going to be useful for you. So thanks for joining me today. And I love to see lots of activity in the group. This is your group. This is your group. You can post here. You can post your wins. You can post anything to do with being a conscious creator, having a business. This is for you. All right. Feel free to ask me any questions. Bye.